that we're at war.
I want to speak about the image of our people. We have to be protective of our image.
Our ancestors, they were oppressed, and we are oppressed today.
Hotep, how you doing? This is Jah of the Jah and Kev show. My partner over here in that black with that African continent on his chest, that's Brother Kev. And tonight, we're going to come to you on a special Tuesday. We want to talk to you about our subject matter. And the name of our subject matter tonight is Pretenders or Contenders. And Kev, you know, this is a baby of mine, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, I called you with this, and I had to talk about it because I think it's necessary that we dive into what do we mean by contenders and pretenders.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I wanted to say, like, what constitutes a pretender and a contender in your eyes?
Okay, we're going to put this in context. Now, a lot of you may not know this, but many times when a season starts in sports, a team wins 3 or 4 games, and everybody wants to know, are they serious? Are they really for real? Are they just lucky? Or what happens? Then later on in the season, we see whether they were pretending, winning by luck, or basically they were real. But in our context, we're going to talk about pretenders or contenders when it comes to the community that we live in.
Right.
Many people talk about being down for the community, wanting to help the community, and always talking a lot about what we need to do. But are we really contending, or are we just pretending? And I think we're going to have a very fruitful discussion. But before we start into that, this brother didn't know I was going to do this, but I have to say this before we kick this off. If you haven't seen the blueprint from this past Sunday from 3 to 4, y'all need to go check that thing out, because Brother Kevin, I applaud you, and Sister Candace Walker. They did a broadcast that if you haven't seen it, you better go back and look at it, because it's very, very emotional. It's heartfelt. And it's talking about serious matters that we all need to engage in. So I just want to say to you, when I saw that, man, I was so proud of you. It brought tears to my eyes, man.
Wow, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. And actually, that came stemming off of some of the things that we talk about.
Okay.
You know, you have conversations, and then people start to open up and talk about things. Then it's like, you know, I want to talk about this.
Right.
So that's what it comes from.
Okay.
You know, stemming from some of the things. I mean, it's all the same, man.
Okay.
You got Cry's Womb, you got the Blueprint, and together you got the Jah and Kev show.
There you go.
And
there you go.
So,
well, I'm gonna ask you this, Kev. Do you think that there are more, in your estimation? Do you think there are more pretenders or contenders in the African American community when it comes to uplifting the community?
I think there's more pretenders.
Why you say that, Kev?
Now, I want to preface that comment with this.
Okay.
Before I get into that, it's not just pretenders or contenders.
Okay.
Because everyone is not down for the cause or the struggle. Some people are just trying to survive. You know, when they say the struggle is real, some people are struggling to put food on the table just to live. And then you got others that are out there trying to thrive. You know, they want to make it big, and they're not really worried about the black movement. Then you got those that's in a struggle for the movement, for the cause. And we also have all of these other things happening, but we are dedicating ourselves to our people. So no matter, like, you have a marriage, you have family, you're going to have all kind of things happening, but you also is going to do this other thing that you're dedicated to. So I think and that's what I mean, the pretending part. When I say a pretender, that's someone who tries to act as if there's something that they're not. And that's when I see a lot of pretenders out there, because then they always want to, you know, clash with somebody else, or they want to get into debates and arguments. But it's like, man, spend that energy, because we got a cause. You know, you can't be sitting up there wanting to spar with the soldiers that's fighting, that's supposed to be fighting alongside of you. But because they don't believe something you believe, then they want to be like, and then they steady attacking us instead of attacking our oppressor.
Wow, that's really heavy, Kev. I like that, because I always just look at, when people ask me, I say, look at our communities. Our communities dictate to us whether there are more pretenders or contenders. And we do see a lot of pretense, you know, people who are saying that they're doing things, but they're really not. You see, with the advent of social media, it's easy to post about something that's down for the cause, because you don't have to get off your fanny. You can just post and talk about Black Power and what you want to do and what we should be doing, but you're not really engaged in any way. So in that way, there are pretenders, because they want you to think that. Because if you look at their page, you will see a whole lot of positive information. But what are we really doing as a group of people or as individuals to say that we are contending? I look at you, man, and I know that you do a lot of things for the community. Your heart is open, and that's that dedication. So that's one of the things that we must talk about. If you are a contender for our people because you love them, then that's going to be evident in your lifestyle. Whatever you do, wherever you go, you're always talking about supporting Black businesses, buying from Black organizations, institutions, supporting Black banks, trying to get our own store. So to me, that's a very positive contender. But unfortunately, we have both of the likes. We have the pretenders and the contenders.
I always break it down like this. It's conviction, and you have dedication. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about those that claim to be activists or whatever in the community. And people confuse conviction with dedication. And conviction is just a belief. You just believe this thing, a belief, and it's good to have it. You have a conviction, I have a conviction, but you also have a dedication.
Right.
Because you had a dedication to open up a school. Mm-hmm. You have a dedication to give your time. And the difference is conviction is just a belief in something. Mm-hmm. Or a strong belief in something, and dedication is when you give in time and effort.
Wow.
And you sacrifice it. And
yes,
some people, they sit there. It takes no dedication. I mean, you can have conviction and talk strongly on social media.
Right.
But when it comes down to doing something or giving up something
mm-hmm.
or that you used to do or how you used to be, you're not ready to do that.
Wow.
Because it takes a discipline for you to do what you do.
Yes, sir.
You make music, you have the girls, you have the center, you have the school, you do a lot of things. You constantly got the calendar going. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, this is happening this week. This is happening next month. Yeah. This is, whatever. And some people, all they want to do is just get on there and hit the keys on the keyboard and talk strong.
Right.
And I mean, I'm not knocking people, but to me, when you pretend is when you acting like you're something you're not.
Right.
When you're acting like you're actually out there getting your hands dirty, you talking the talk, but your walk ain't the same.
Yeah, and that goes back to what we're saying, because you have to be motivated, and you can't motivate me. Yeah, you can encourage me. Hey, Jah, I noticed you haven't been doing this and that and the other, then I may do it. But there must be something on the inside of us. There must be an internal fire that is constantly lit. It doesn't go out, so it's still there, and no matter what happens, you're focused, see, and you're going to make sure that you're doing what you have to do for the community, because there's an urgency. And when we open up our eyes, we see the homelessness in our communities. We see the ignorance of our people in our community. We see the drug addiction. We see all of the things that's going on in our community, and there's so much work that we all can be doing. And so that's why we should all strive to be contenders instead of pretenders, because that's the problem right now. There's a lot of us, like you mentioned, are pretending. But yet, look at our community. We don't talk about supporting, but we don't even support one another. We talk about one another. So this is why we need to have this discussion. Are you a contender or are you a pretender? Give us a call at 361-405-6111. We would love to have dialogue with you to see what you think about this subject matter, contenders or pretenders.
Right. And it's the reason that this is an important discussion is because a lot of times when you go out there doing work, and you know this, you have people that say they're going to do things. They say they're going to support you.
Right.
They say that, hey, I can do this for you, and then they end up costing you money. I'm talking about people that say, hey, I could do this, I could get you this, and this grant or whatever, and they and it's going to cost you this.
Right.
Then it's like you end up being screwed in the end. You know what I'm saying? Because you're dealing with somebody that talk that stuff, but they don't walk that walk.
Wow.
That's hard. And I remember it used to be a thing on social media where people say, oh, somebody have shirts, they print shirts and they sell them. And the person say, oh man, I've been meaning to get a shirt from you. I want to get a shirt. And they say, why don't you get one now? And the music come on. They like, I got one right here.
Right.
Because the person always talking. That's what I consider pretender. Somebody that's always acting like they're not. Now, if you are who you are and you just say, well, hey, I support this and I do that. I'm not saying that you got to have a certain criteria to be a contender. I'm saying if you are real with what you're doing and you acknowledge who you are, then that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not saying how much someone else does. I mean, Anthony Broderick could sit there and say, man, you ain't doing enough. He could look at me and say, Kev, or Jah, you ain't, because I dedicate my whole life to do this. And I was like, okay, but I'm not talking about what criteria. I'm talking about if you're a pretender, you're pretending to be something you're not. Be who you are, stand on what you do.
Yeah.
And if you say, man, I'm not doing that because hey, that's too much for me, then I'm cool with you. I'm like, hey, because everybody has their own pace.
Right.
I just wanted to put that out there. I'm not sitting up there trying to put anybody down for what they don't do or what they do, but I'm saying I'm putting you down if you act like you're doing this and you're not.
Yeah, that's important. But you hit something earlier that I want to touch on when you said it. I said, I got to come back to it. It has to do with this whole pay aspect. In other words, there are some things that needs pay. As far as when we do things, we have to be paid because that's our livelihood. So we're not knocking that. But sometimes you have to look at, are we doing these things just for pay? See, we got to bring that out. Are we doing it just for pay, or are we doing it because we really are down for the cause? Because if you take the payout of many of these things that we're doing in the community, a lot of us wouldn't do it. I've often heard that in religion. They say, well, a lot of these guys that are wealthy, if they didn't get paid, they wouldn't do what they do. And so you have to look at the greed and all of the economics that come with this whole contending or pretending. And that's very important.
And another thing they do it for is for recognition. They want to be seen. They want to be seen. And it's like sometimes if they're going out feeding the poor, the hungry, or whatever, the homeless, they're doing it, but they want everybody to see them doing it. You know, it's like, and I'm not knocking that because I had a discussion and I felt one way about that. And people say, don't put a camera out when you feed. But I had one of my good friends that he does it on his own. He goes out. But what he was trying to do was let people know you can do this too. It's almost like somebody that goes and they starts working out. And it's like, I'm trying to inspire you to do, if I could do it, you could do it. I'm this old and I'm doing it, you can do it. And so he kind of changed my mind, but some people only do it for the record. They only do things because they want to be recognized. They want the recognition. And when the cameras are not on, then they don't want to be seen.
Yeah, and I think about the commitment and the dedication. Many of us are committed and dedicated into other aspects of life, and those aspects are really frivolous. They don't mean much. We go to these clubs, we go to these organizations, and we get involved in all of that. And if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But when you look at our people, when you look at our children, when you look at our young adults, where the suicide rate is off the roof, off the charts, when we look at all the things that's going on now, then we must look at them and say, well, if we will put more energy into the aspect of the social part when it comes to our communities, that will be a great thing. When you look at today's so-called holidays that's upon us, many people have really they've gone all out, and I'm not knocking that, because if that's what they want to do, they can do it. But my challenge is, when are we going to spend some of that energy into trying to help our communities the way we do go out for these holidays, and this world will be a better place?
Right. And if you're not going to do it, I'm going to say this, if you're just going to live your life, and I'm just going to do this, I'm going to go all out for Christmas and spend all my money up and then whatever, if that's what you're going to do, that's fine. But don't turn around and complain about our community after this is done. Don't turn around and be part of the problem and going to see these movies that's putting black people down and you think it's funny or it's dramatic or I just like it because it's a good storyline of action and it's about gangsters and drug dealers and pimps, then what you're doing, you're promoting our our demise. I mean, then if you're going to do that, I'm fine, like I say, but don't turn around and just like, man, you see this happen, what can we do? Well, how about we do what we should have been doing? 10 years ago, when you asked me that 10 years ago, when this happened, when Trayvon happened, when Oscar Grant happened, when all this, we keep asking ourselves, what do you think? Don't call me and say, well, what you think we should do? It's going to be the same answer that I gave you 10 years ago, 9 years ago, 8 years, and I'm saying it's going to be until and when it happens again, because it's going to happen again, then you're going to ask me the same question. But what when I give you an answer, you don't want to do it.
No, because in their heart, that's that pretension that we're talking about. There's a pretense. But I want to throw a curveball in this thing now. The curveball happens to be Kwanzaa, black holidays, black celebrations and all of that, which is fine. But if all we do is wait for Kwanzaa to celebrate Kwanzaa, then go back into our cave until the next year comes out, then we are a pretender. Because when you talk about just celebrating Kwanzaa, to put the candles out, and we should, and to do all those things and get all the trappings and all that comes with Kwanzaa, that's a beautiful thing. But Kevin, we have to put something with that. It's like we can't just celebrate holidays and think that we're down for the community, because that's just a personal thing that we all do. But when we talk about getting into the community, that's mean we have to begin to get into institutions and organizations, and not only that, doing things personally that's going to help our community, visiting the poor, helping the homeless, sharing with the youth, just doing something that's going to uplift the community, than to sit around and gripe and complain and make people think we're really down for the cause when we're really not down for the cause. All we're doing is using a lot of bluster and all of the things that come with people who want to be something that you said they're not.
What about because the way I see that, like if somebody's doing Kwanzaa or anything like that, celebrating Black History Month, and that's the only thing they do all year round, I don't really have a qualm with them, because they could be not doing that. Mm-hmm. See, I look at it like that. It's like, okay, they're in one day they may be inspired to do more. Mm-hmm. They may, if you're celebrating Kwanzaa, you're going down there to the market, you know, to our place or something, and you start seeing the atmosphere and you say, well, I'm celebrating. That's a step, at least, and sometimes it may take you a while to take a second step or a third step. But to me, that's better than a person that's not doing anything, or that's sitting up there down in Kwanzaa, or I don't even know what it is. At least go out and find out, and you know, you down in something that you don't understand, or they just want to be Christmas, or this is just some black this. So that's how I look at those people. I don't, because it was one point that I didn't know what Kwanzaa was. Right. And even if somebody, or I just went to this or event or something, Martin Luther King Day March, and I had the wrong reason for going. Right. You know, I'm going there to socialize and I don't care about all this stuff. But then, you know, things start to grow on you. Or I may meet somebody that may inspire me and say, hey, brother, this, and this. And I might, you know, so I think it can lead to something, as long as you're doing something. My thing is do something and don't do.
Okay, that's the process I'm talking about, because if I was celebrating Kwanzaa 40 years ago and I'm still celebrating Kwanzaa using that as a shtick just to say that I'm doing something, that's not good. See, and I know what you're talking about. You're talking about the progression which we all have to go through as individuals. When we first start things, we don't jump into it. We kind of go, some of us, and then it kind of goes on till we get to where we are now. But if we're doing the same thing, I'm talking to the people that they do the same thing every year, and they don't want to do anything but that, and they feel like that's their commitment to the community. That's not a commitment. That's something personal that we all do, that we should do. So I want to encourage us to do more, because if we don't, we're going to continue to sit here 40 years from now and say, I'm celebrating. What are you doing, Jah? I'm celebrating Kwanzaa. You were doing that 40 years ago. Well, I'm still celebrating it. So then I need to be challenged to say, hey, well, why don't you take another step? Like you're saying, take another step. So I'm not downing those who are doing it. I'm saying, but if that's all we're doing, that's the only thing we live for, and many people are beginning to do that. So I want to encourage all of us that whatever we do, to make sure we look into our communities and see what can we do, whether it's little or whether it's much, so that we can see that we cannot just pretend to be doing something when we're really not.
Yeah, if y'all have a comment, y'all want to come in, y'all want to call in, it's the number is 361-405-6111, and you could give your take on how you feel, what you feel about pretenders, contenders. Do y'all know any pretenders? Do y'all know people that y'all consider contenders, or what's your criteria? You know, people can have a different criteria, you know, and we want to hear your voice.
Yeah, we really do. We really do. And one of the things I wanted to say about a contender, because we talk about the pretenders, but I want to encourage those contenders. That's, in other words, those people who are sold out for the community. It matters not what they're doing from a positive perspective. What I'm trying to get to is this. When that desire is in one's heart to do something, that desire is that which is going to fulfill what they're approaching to do. In other words, because it's in their heart, they're going to do it to the best of their ability. It may not be the way you or I or other people like it, but they're committing. It's like these young guys, when they all put in money to get something, they'll ask somebody, what you got on this? You know, other guy, what you got on this? What you got on this? So everybody puts in. And so I'm saying, when that desire is there, then we will be able to put in the part that we play. Your part is maybe not like my part. My part may not be like your part. But together, I think if we all bring our talents to this thing, we can help our communities in a much greater way than they are today, because if we really open our eyes and be honest about our communities, we can't sit here, and you're not saying it's, neither am I, but we can't sit here and act like we have so many contenders that our community needs no more. So you mentioned at the outset we have too many pretenders. So we need the contenders, and we definitely would need to continue to encourage those who are doing the right thing to keep doing it, and to challenge those who are not, because we cannot just sit on the sideline and act like we're doing something when all we're doing is applauding other people that are doing something.
Yeah, I think when you start challenging people and talking about what do you do and what don't you do, I think you're going to alienate more people. I think you should be an example. I think when you charge people like that, you're going to turn people off. That's far as what I think. When even no matter, and it's like I'm going to give you an example, the Bible thumpers. Mm-hmm. You may be thinking about, oh man, I might go to church this week, and then they own you. Well, mm-hmm. I seen you was at church, but now you sitting up here doing this, mm-hmm. or now you doing this. Like, so that's gonna turn people off, because I didn't come here to get thumped on the head. Mm-hmm. I'm taking my own mm-hmm. progress, and I think if you challenge people on what they're doing and what they're not doing, instead of encouraging them to do more, I think you'll get a different result. Some people there ask me, man, what books do you read? What do you recommend? And then I say this, and this, and I know that person is thinking. I'm not gonna come back and say, did you ever read it? Because I'm just happy that you asked. You may not even buy the book, crack the book open, or whatever, or do whatever. And you may say, hey man, I'm gonna come down there to where you at, or I'm gonna check out the show. Mm-hmm, and mm-hmm. I never see you on the show. I never mm-hmm. see you, come on there and say anything. I'm not gonna, well, you need to be. You said you was, and this, mm-hmm. that's what I'm saying. You could turn people off by challenging them. Mm-hmm. Instead of letting them come at their own pace. And if they don't, because really my energy, I got too much to focus on over here mm-hmm. than to focus on who's not doing something over there, mm-hmm. because it's going to be a whole lot of that. I mm-hmm. could look at a whole lot of people, and a lot of people could look at me and say mm-hmm. what I'm not doing. And, Omar Johnson may have an idea of what I should be doing or what we should be talking about, mm-hmm. but it's too much energy spent looking at me. Why don't you continue to do what you're doing, right? And let me do what I'm doing?
Good point. And my thing is, I think it's one and the same. Because I know if I stop teaching and I stop doing some things, you will come to me and you will say, Jah, what's going on? Now, you may not say you need to keep teaching, you need to keep doing this, but you're going to challenge me. So I think the part that I'm talking about is not so much the way we come at people, is I'm encouraging you to do something that's positive. Now, whether you do it or not, because we all going to have to make that step. It's like a kid walking across the street. If you and I are with that kid and you say to that kid, they're finna step out in the street and get hit, and you say, hey, you better not go out there, you're going to get hit. And they stop, and I say, you watch where you're going, you're going to get hit. Right. As long as the kid doesn't go into the street to get hit, we both have accomplished it. But I know what you're saying, hollering at people, making people feel a certain way because they're not doing what you're doing. I'm saying that that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about when you begin to do things for the community at your own pace, you should be encouraged. You mm-hmm. shouldn't be forced, and it should come from your own heart. So for someone to tell someone else what you need to do, no, we're not talking about that. But I'm saying in an encouragement way, if you are doing things in the community and you stop because of whatever reason, or I am and I've stopped, I think I should be. I want someone to encourage me, but it's the way they would encourage me that may turn me off. But I want that encouragement.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Challenging versus encouraging. I think like, hey man, because I was saying at first, we got a lot of people that I consider contenders because their methods of doing things mm-hmm. contradicts the unity. Right. You can't talk about somebody like this person. Okay, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in religion. You're religion. You need to stop doing this. See, you know what I'm saying? That's not going to make us bond together, right. And that's not going to be unifying effort. You do your thing, and sometimes you may come around and say, you know what? After I'm being around all these people, I'm starting to see this and this because we having a dialogue. But if I'm alienating you, because I don't agree with you doing or you're not doing, then that's not going to be
exactly.
And that's what I meant by it's a lot of people that feel like, and all they do is attack each other. They attack. Yeah, and I'm looking at like, brother, we in the same struggle.
Right.
I don't have the energy to sit up there and debate. Right. Us debating this stuff has nothing to do with our progress as a people. I'd rather you come out and come to this event and they see us unifying, even though we got different, just like on the show, we got different beliefs, theological beliefs, but we still coming together on the show. That's encouragement to people. We don't have to be fitting together like a hand in glove. We can have different beliefs and whatever, and we still getting together for a common cause.
Well, we got a call. Speaking of that, go ahead, caller. You're on the air. Welcome to the Jah and Kev Show. State your point, state your comment, state your question, and let's get this going.
Okay, thank you for taking my call. I wanted to call about pretenders, and I know you're speaking within the community. And you see many ministries that they say they have a community center, but you have to pay $800, $900 to even rent something from them. But they say it's a community center. To me, that's a pretender. And you have pretenders and many other things as well. But as far as within the community, I do see that with ministries, especially so-called, I shouldn't say so-called, but within Christianity. They say you can come to the church for help or for a need, but you have to go through the hoops or they'll send you somewhere else, especially when it comes to money. So to me, that's a pretender, because you're pretending that you're about your community and about the people in your ministry, but you don't want to help them in any kind of way. You want to send them somewhere else for the help. What are your thoughts about that?
Thank you for the call.
You want to take that?
You want to hang on the phone, or are you going?
Yeah, I got one more thing too, and I also want to bring up one more thing. I also want to bring up pretenders within, when we talk about community, even within friends, you have pretenders, because we can hee ha ha in front of people, and the community to me is the people, because we make up the community. So you have pretenders within that as well.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Give me your thoughts on those two issues, and then I'm gonna hang up.
You want to take the first one? I take the second one about the friends,
Okay.
and you take the churches. How people are treated.
Which one you want, the friends or the church?
I'll take the friends.
Okay,
You know,
all right. Let me
I'll
talk
be on
about the
churches
religious
forever.
thing. I'm not going to just say the churches. I'm going to talk about anybody that has a community center. Period. And sometimes we bash the churches because they are supposed to set a standard, or the mosque, or the temples, or whatever. You're supposed to set a standard. Now, mainly in the black community, we have the churches, and they will have places, and then when you go to them wanting to use the place for, and if it's not for what they do, and the way I understand, because they have their own criteria. They don't want to be placating to something that's against their beliefs. Just like you can't go to a Jewish synagogue and say, hey, could we use this thing to your community center, and we want to do this thing about Germany or whatever, they're going to be like, no, it has to be basically something that they believe in, or something that they uphold.
What about the ones who believe? What if you go to a place that they believe the same thing you believe, and you need help, and they, like she's saying, and they turn you away? And
this is what I hear from people. And I'm talking about now, this was like restaurants and stuff like that. And they say, hey, we come and we want you to dedicate or donate. Could you do this for us? And they say, well, we never even seen you come in here. You never even patronize us, but because we have some type of skill, or because I have a place, now, you coming to us wanting stuff for free. And they're like, you don't even patronize us. So I think we have to look at things also like that and put things in that context. Because I heard people say these things like, okay, you're asking us for something, but we never seen you. Hey, and I mean, like, we could do a show someplace, and they won't even advertise. They won't say, hey, stuff like that. So we have to look at, we doing stuff for you, but you never even tune into our show when we gave you, try to give you customers to do whatever we did to come to your establishment.
Right.
And I think people have to look at it both ways, that sometimes if you don't deal with them, why are they going to want to deal with you? Now, on the other hand, if they have a place that's supposed to be for the community, in the community, you want to pick and choose, then it's not for the community. It's just your place. And if that's what I mean by, that's a pretender to me, because you're pretending like it's for anybody and everybody, or you care, but it's only for, you want to pick and choose who you caring about. So that's the problem right there.
And the second part is when it comes to life, we meet people, everybody we meet are not going to be contenders as far as our friends. You have people that smile in your face and they'll stab you in the back. You have people that'll laugh in your face and that'll talk about you like a dog behind your back. You have people that'll say smart or nice things to you, but behind your back, they're trying to get something you have via, it may be your woman, it may be something you have, it may be anything. So the point that the lady was making, which I think is fair, is that when it comes to friendship, there are pretenders. And when you find out, this is why a lot of people are crushed and hurt when they grew up together and you thought that person all those years really cared for you, and they show a pattern that they could give two hoots about you. Not one thing they did, but just a repetitive, a constant show of disrespect and that kind of thing. So that's called life when it comes to that, Kev. That's called life. And
also like people that it's not just someone you grew up with. We see this in the black community with the things we do. We see people that want to be a part of, because they want to be a part of something because you have something. They want the lights to come on, and I want to come on your show, and I want to talk about this, and it's all about self-grandizement. And it's not about what the show is about. They want, or whatever it is. Oh, you could do this, and I want to use you for this, and they act like they're a partner. But then when something comes up something that they want to do on their own, they don't bring you along and say, hey, you want to be part of this? They just like, boom, and I'm trying to blow my name up and stuff. So they use you for whatever they want to use you for.
Yeah, that's true. We have some of the pretenders and contenders. We have some characteristics that we know them by. You spoke on some earlier, and I spoke on some earlier, but I wrote down just a few, and when I share one, you can kind of give me your thoughts, because I know you have much to say. When it comes to a lot of the pretenders, those who are just pretending to be someone that they're not, we notice that a lot of them want that spotlight dependence. They want, you mentioned it, they want everything on them. And these are some of the signs that you can kind of tell if a person is really a contender, because a contender, they don't really care about that. They care about the end result. And that is, like you said, let's collaborate. Let's do some things together where we can help the community. Not that I got to have my way or you got to have your way. But if you notice, and I know you would agree with this, many of the pretenders, they want to be seen. They want to be heard. They want to be out front. They want to talk the loudest. They want to be the one on the stage. They want everything on them. They want the spotlight on them. And so this is one of the things that we may start looking at to say, hey, maybe that person is a pretender because they're self-dependent.
Yeah, and I think placating to those people is detrimental to the movement and the cause, because they don't have the dedication. Like, you may be doing something to say, hey, man, and you ask us, you do the plays, you write the plays, we be in the plays, and it's like, hey, I need you to be here. This is y'all laid it out the last play we did, you and your wife, y'all laid it out. This is what we expect from you. You want to be part of this. And then sometimes when you do things like that, you'll know if people just there because they want to just be seen, and they're not committed and they're not dedicated, and they just want people to see that, hey, I'm in this, at this event. Or they always want to grab a mic when it's a show, or they want to say, I want to say one, say this or say this. And it's like, because you seeking they want the spotlight. You want the spotlight. Right. Yeah, and it's like, hey, I want to come. I get this a lot. I want to come on your show. I want to come on your show. What do you want to come on about? Well, I want to talk about this, and it's all me. It's like the opera. You me. It's like, whoa, and it's like, and then I was like, that's not a good topic. That's not a good subject.
Yeah. And we noticed that the contenders, though, they're selfless. In other words, it doesn't. If you tell me, if we're working on a project together that's going to help, let's say, some young boys, and you come up with something, and you tell me, well, Jah, why don't you look at this to help, and I can use you in this way. If I'm really down for what we're talking about, that's not big to me. But if you know what? I can't do what I want to do, so you do it by yourself. Go find somebody else. You take your ball and you run with it. You don't want anybody to play with it. These are some of the things that we must discuss, because a contender is selfless. It's not about them. And I don't know why we don't tell people that.
And it's the network, because I might say, I suggest somebody else that's even better, or I know this guy. Because what happens, we get to know each other. We go to the same events, the same places, and we start to have a camaraderie. And, this is what you do, or this is what I do, and I may steer somebody else that may be able to help you, or maybe steer you to help them. Say, hey, this brother could do this, or this brother, you thinking about writing a play? I'm gonna tell you somebody. Call his brother, and it's like that. But then there's some people, they just want to use you for whatever. That's what I'm saying. Those are pretenders to me.
Sir.
When you're trying to, Coach Tomlinson for the Steelers said something. He say the worst thing you could do is lie to yourself. Now, if somebody could lie to themselves, then they'll lie to you. And this is what I'm talking about. A pretender is he puts on that facade, like, oh, and then every time you see him, they talking. Oh man, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna run for office. I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna open up this place, and I'm gonna do this for the black community.
Right.
Then you see them a year later, and they ain't did nothing, and they still talking about it.
Yeah, that's true. And one other thing that we need to look at as far as the pretenders. Sometimes you can tell a person's not real when they're not consistent. There's a lack of consistency. They'll show up one time and they're gung-ho and you get excited, and then you don't see them again. Then the next year you see them, it's the same storyline. It's like something is wrong. They're not committed. They're not consistent, because you have to be consistent if you're going to talk about helping the community. Now, when I say consistent, I don't mean every day. But there has to be some type of consistency in what we do to make the end results matter, as opposed to just talking about it today. I'm excited today. Then you see me 6 months from now and I'm saying the same thing. And pretty soon you're going to say, Jah, you've been saying that for almost 3 years now, and you're still saying it. So I'm not consistent. I think that's important as well.
Yeah. And I think entertainment, you could tell a lot by people's entertainment. And I'm not talking about, hey, you shouldn't watch that, or you shouldn't do this, or you shouldn't go here. But if you're being entertained by something that's detrimental to the cause that you're claiming, now some people, they do what they do, and it's like, hey, this is what I believe. This is how I relax my mind. But I shouldn't be wanting to watch things about pimps and stuff if I'm talking about cleaning up our community or things like that. So if you're entertained, and I'm not talking about the average person that's not saying that they're in the struggle for the people.
I hear you.
I'm just talking about they may have a conviction like, yeah, Black Power, I'm with you, I support you, but that don't mean they getting out doing something, because some people, that's not in them. And I'm like, they may just be supporters, and that's fine. And I appreciate you if you support, if you tune in. I appreciate you. If you go to a black business every month, I appreciate that.
Right.
But I'm talking about the people that talk that talk, like, I do this, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do, and then they never do it. And then to me, you're pretending to be something you're not.
And then you got those who are procrastinators. We all procrastinate, but when it comes to the community, there's no need, and there's no room for the elongated procrastination. And so what I'm saying is, some people know that there's a need, but they won't do anything. And then when somebody gets shot or someone gets killed, then we want to put the picket signs together and walk around and picket. And then after that goes down, we put the picket sign down and we go back into our cave until someone else gets killed. Then we come back out with the picket sign. And this is how we live our lives, as opposed to saying, whatever we're picketing about, maybe we should do something to stop that before the next person gets killed.
Right.
And that's
practical. Come up with a plan of action. Come up with a plan of action. If you don't have one, then jump on somebody else's bus to have a plan of action. And this is what I get perturbed with. Every time something happens where they come out with this black on black crime or black, see, this is why we here. But you got a lot to say. But I'm saying, okay, so what are you doing about it? What are you doing? If you the big mouth, you gotta you got I always hear your voice.
Right. Fat mouth.
And you talking about what's wrong with us.
Right.
Then talk about something to right the ship. Or are you just gonna be the Chicken Little talking about the sky falling and all this, but you don't have a plan. You don't have a plan for us, or you don't even have a plan for you to go help in some kind of way, because I may not know what to do, but I could seek somebody and say, Jah, what y'all do? Y'all go out and do, I want to be part of that. You could do something, or you could do nothing, but I don't want to hear you if you're not doing anything. To me, that's when you become a pretender.
Right.
You're sounding an alarm. You're just a loud alarm. You're a rooster in the evening when I'm trying to sleep. That's how I see it. It's just yak, yak, yak. Everything is wrong with us. Everything is wrong. We'll make it right.
Right. This broadcast tonight is brought to you by Kev and Jah, and the title again is Pretenders or Contenders. What's your thoughts? Give us a call, 361-405-6111. Now, Kev, there's some other issues that we want to talk about in this whole aspect of contenders and pretenders, and one of them is some people are pretenders because they are fear of criticism. They don't want to be criticized. In other words, they're going to pretend because if they get real, we used to call it jiving. Back in the day, all that, you just a jive turkey, you just jiving. But if you're serious, that criticism is going to come with this. And so some of us don't want the criticism. Like you told me before, people say that sometimes when, not yourself, but when we show up, that's this whole stigma of, oh, here he comes, this old pro-black guy. He's going to talk about, so they don't want to be critiqued or criticized.
Right. And it makes them feel uncomfortable. When somebody is coming with some type of truth, You know, falsehood, you live in a lie. Like I say, you lie to yourself. You lying to yourself, then you're going to feel uncomfortable when the truth is coming around because you don't want to be exposed. You know, people sit there and they talk all this, you know, blah, black power this. And,
Right.
But see, the thing is, then when the lights hit, but I just want to say, I don't. It ain't that I don't like white people. I just, you know, they're apologetic. But I don't have to come up here and apologize for me having a pro-black mentality because my people been persecuted. I'm trying to help against that, the oppression and stuff. I ain't saying I'm not. Yeah, I don't care what somebody else thinks. You know, or I ain't gotta apologize if what I'm saying is hurting your feelings. Then you in a place where you must be stepped on this because I'm stepping in the right path. And get your feet out the way there. If you tend to your business, you know, if you're not part of the community, tend to your business, then I'm not gonna step on your toes.
Wow, that's
But if you're in the way, I'm gonna step on your toes, and I'm not gonna apologize because you got your foot in the wrong place.
That's good.
But these people want to come on here, they talk all this, and then the first thing, I'm pro-black, but I just want to say this, and I'm like, you know. You pretending, man, because there's no explanation needed when you're trying to help somebody.
Right, and now back to the contenders. Now, you know, this is a great broadcast because we're giving you both sides of the coin. We're not just giving you the pretenders. We're talking about the contenders and the pretenders. But the contenders, one thing I notice about a contender, and I thank all of the contenders for two things. One is openness and honesty. I don't care how the truth hurts. I love a person that's going to tell me the truth and not lie to me or make me believe one thing when they know in their hearts it's not that way. So to those contenders that are truth bearers, you know, they're truth seekers, they're transparent, you know, they're going to tell you, hey, I have problems with this or I'm working on that, see, because a real contender is going to show you their faults. They're going to let you know I'm human. I'm still working on that. Whereas the pretender, everything is perfect. Everything is grand. Everything is great. They make no mistakes. They know everything. They can do everything. They can feel everything. They can think everything. And so this is why we have to give the contenders their props when they've told us the truth. And I think about a person like Minister Farrakhan. You know, all these years, this man is, as we would say, 1 foot in and 1 foot out. But even in his older age, he's still trying to shed light on the truth to help us as a people. So it's like people like that you have to say, thank you for the truth. Sometimes it's not something that we want to hear, but sometimes we have to know what's really going on because we've been lied to for so many years. The truth is refreshing, brother.
Yeah. And what I like about you brought up the Minister Farrakhan, and this also with Malcolm X. They didn't beat people over the head. They didn't beat us over the head unless you was one of those pretenders. And I remember the thing with Farrakhan and Jesse Jackson, and he tore in Jesse was talking to the people, and he was like, "We winning." And Farrakhan went after him and tore him up head to toe. And said any leader that comes and tell you that we winning when we in this predicament, he ain't nothing but a puppet for you. He was getting on. But I'm saying, but the one thing that I was going to say is Malcolm always said patience with us, because at one time I wasn't where I am now.
Right.
And we have to have patience with those that are trying.
Right.
Now, if you're acting, even if you're trying, but you're trying to act like you're there, this is what I got a problem with. Don't try to sit there and you want to jump on somebody else for what they doing, and then you're doing this too. It's like you're a fraud. To me, we used to say, perpetrating a fraud, because you're putting on this image that you're not, or you're putting on this image where you want to beat somebody over the head because of where they're at right now, and you're not in that position, but it's somebody else that's above you, that's higher than you, that know more than you, that could be doing the same thing to you.
Wow.
So it's just like a bully. You want to pick on people and say, y'all do this, or y'all stupid for doing this, and then, but it's like, okay, if you in a fight,
right,
my fight is not with anybody that look like me unless they're detrimental to my cause.
Right.
My fight is against my oppressor.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I got too much energy that I got to expend over here to be worrying about trying to fight with somebody that's supposed to be on my level that's trying to do the same thing. It's like I don't have that energy. I don't have that, because I'm dedicated to a cause.
Yeah, that's true. I wrote down a question and I want to answer it first, and I'll give you a crack at it. But it says, how can we inspire pretenders to transition into becoming an authentic contender and contribute to society? Now, what I wrote down, what I was thinking about is, I just wanted to tell them one thing about, if you're serious about becoming a contender from a pretender, there's a sacrifice. Now, you mentioned patience, which that's another thing that we have to share with them, but there's a sacrifice that has to be thought about. You just can't do this and not sacrifice. There's something that's going to have to give. And sometimes we tell people, well, all you got to do is, and then we make it sound so easy. Well, all you have to do is, and then people say, but that's all I've done. But we don't tell them there's a sacrifice. There's a great sacrifice. Think about our ancestors. Think about Fannie Lou Hamer. Think about all the people that came before her. Ida B. Wells, Mary McLeod Bethune. Think about George Crumb. Think about all those people that came before that were contenders. There was a great sacrifice that they paid. And we had a show on sacrifice before, but this is where we got to dig that back out and throw it in here, because if you are a pretender and you're saying, you know what, I'm going to stop playing. I want to be serious about this. I'm saying that I want to encourage you that there's a great sacrifice that must be paid. You're snickering.
No, because I thought about something. It made things come to my mind. I mean, we coming off of Thanksgiving. And some of these people, you know, after all I say and do and talk about Thanksgiving and stuff, and then they come and wishing me a happy Thanksgiving. And I'm like, I try to be polite because I know you mean well.
Right.
I'm not talking about the average person. I'm talking about somebody that's acting like they're a contender. And then what happens is, it's almost like I'm snap, bro. I don't do that. You know, so like somebody saying, Mary, you know, come to my Christmas party, Jah, and you're gonna be like, man, I don't do that. Or happy 4th of July. Right, bro, if you know me, and I'm saying it ain't somebody that don't know me, it's somebody that know me. Yeah. So I'm like, brother, how you sitting up there? You acting like you all this pro-black and all this stuff, but you talking about this man's holiday like this. Yeah. And you're greeting me with that. And you should know me by now. So, and that's what I snickered and chuckled about. But to make a pretender, try to turn a pretender into a contender, I think that's hard, because to me, if you're pretending to be something you're not, then that's something that's a personal flaw within you. Just be who you are. If you're somebody that's trying to, you know, turn into a flamingo when people come around and act like you're something you're not, even if you're not talking about being conscious in the black community. Right. If you're just talking, I'm a ladies man, whatever it is you think, man, I got this, or man, I do this. And if that's a flaw within yourself, and somebody's going to call you out on it. And I'm not going to sit up there. I'm going to either leave you alone, because it's not I don't really care about associating with people like that. So it's hard for me to say I'm going to try to turn them into a contender.
Do you think that social media has, do you think it has made it easier for us to become pretenders?
Yeah, I think, no doubt. I think
In what way?
Because everybody with social media, you don't have to be put on TV by somebody else. You go live yourself. Right. And then you sit here and you voice it. I hear people, they come on and they just talk. They say, okay, live, they got the camera up and they just talking about whatever. And I mean, sometimes they're not making any sense because it's not well, but it's like, hey, people are interested in what I'm saying. I mean, it's delusions of grandeur, and maybe I got delusions of grandeur. Maybe we doing the show. But my thing is, people can just go live with anything, and they can say whatever they want, whenever they want, however they want. Now, when I ask them, I say, okay, you got this. Do you want to come on the show? Because then they know it's going to be an intellectual conversation. Then they always like, nah. You know, I had a brother tell me, nah, your show not ready for me. I'm like, okay, that's interesting. I'm like, okay, that's cool. So if it's not, then why don't you bring me up to your level on my show? But see, that's that fronting. That's
pretense.
Yeah. You know, it's like you're a pretender then.
Wow. You know, it's important that we have this type of discussion, because for so many years we've said these things behind closed doors about the pretenders and contenders. Well, now we have it out so that people can hear about it, because I know that when we look at these contenders and pretenders, one of the things that we talk about when it comes to a person being a pretender, these people resist collaboration. In other words, they want to do things on their own. They don't want any help. They don't need any help. They think they have all the answers. And when you say to me, well, hey, Jah, we're fighting for a similar cause, why don't we sit down and collaborate and come up with something that we can help our block, our community? Well, I don't know. I don't want to do it, Kev. See, I'm a pretender because I don't want to do it, Kev, you know, because I got my own thing. See, this is too big, like you just mentioned. This is what I'm doing is too big for you. So, you know, you go on down the street and do your thing, and I do my thing, when that's basically a cop-out because I don't want to do it. And so I'm using that to say that I'm hoarding this, which is really not anything but a whole bunch of pretense. It's a crock of you know what. Start with the S, ends with a T. But I'm trying to make people think that I'm really doing something.
I think that when I run across people that's pretenders, if I meet you and I know that you're in the struggle for the community, I would want to talk to you.
Of course.
I would want to bounce ideas off, and maybe I could learn something, or maybe I could say something to inspire. Either way, it's like you gravitate towards people, like-minded people. But those other people, when it comes to conversation, this is one thing I always notice.
Okay.
They always say the simplest, bland thing about our situation. You know, and that lets me know the level that you're not really talking about, because they'll say, well, what we got to do is just have unity.
Right,
okay?
right.
Oh, so how are we going to do that? Well, you talk about voting. You think, how are we going to hold them accountable? Like, you know, we voted for them and they're not. What if they don't do what they promised them? Well, we got to hold them accountable. Okay, but how? Well, we just got to hold them. So it's like, okay, all right. So you just saying stuff.
Right.
Because that sounds good, but it's no way. You have no way of saying or doing what you're saying. You're talking holding somebody accountable. How do you do that? If you say, well, you know, we're going to start boycotting this or doing this, or give me something. But that's what I notice about pretenders. They just have the simplest ideology about fixing things and the problems we have. And if I'm talking to you and say, man, what do you think we could do about our young people doing this and this? You're going to tell me, man, this, and this. And no matter how, you know, we may just talk about it.
Right, right.
And I might say, man, that's a good idea. But then, or may I say, but if we do that, you know, it's going to be a conversation. That's the interesting thing. That's interesting to me to talk to somebody about our issues.
Wow, that's good, Kev. I think the contenders, I want to go back to the contenders and give them encouragement again. So again, you can't say this broadcast is slighted. You can't say it's a seesaw where it's one-sided. But I say that the contenders, I really think that what they do is they're action-oriented, or they're action-driven. They want some results. That's the goal. That's what they're not just doing this because they want accolades or they want people to put them on a pedestal. The end result is they want to make a change, some type of change in the community, in their lives, and for our people. And I applaud those kinds of people, because to me, those are the people that we need to continue to rub shoulders with, because they're constantly always got something to do to help our people.
All right. I'm going to read some comments, man. And I appreciate William. I appreciate Josiah showing up. I'm going to thank some of y'all for showing up first on Facebook page. Sakina, walaikum assalam, sister. She also said action speaks much louder than words. William, Kaya, I appreciate you showing up. Bill, he said talk about it. And Miss Ma said it's a process when it comes to church giving money. Everything has to be documented. You could speak on that in a little bit, man. I'm going to go through everybody comments. Sharon said greetings, and Josiah said a lot of us run our fat mouths and are nothing more than pretenders, especially a man that disposes of his own race. And he said Al Sharpton is a pretender. I guess I mean, we could name people that we think are pretenders. I don't know what RL does or whatever. And my thing is, I look at him, maybe that's where his mind is at. You know, whatever he does, maybe that peace, because then whatever he is, maybe he got that from Martin Luther King, and maybe that's what he thought Martin was teaching. You know, I know a lot of people that think that being peaceful, I know a lot of people believe in this country. That's because we're not educating our own, and they're being educated in the system, and they project Martin Luther King as a certain way. And they try to, and that's what we eat. That's what and then to me, you have to break away from the system to, of course, to understand, basically understand what I'm saying. Now, did you want to hit on the process of the church giving money, everything?
Well, I think there's a legal aspect, and there's a part of it that has to be done. But when we talk about just simply helping people, I've seen people get turned away from a ministry where they've come and they didn't have anything, and all they needed was some shoes. And I've heard people tell them to go down the street or go somewhere else. That's not good. See, that's something that we should call out, because a lot of us, we get caught up in this pretending, and then we cape for them, and we try to give them an excuse. And I'm saying that some of that, as Malcolm and Martin and others, they call that out. W.E.B. Du Bois, Marcus Garvey, they all called out those types of pretenses. And I think we have to be honest about that. Now, depending on the situation, we have to see, okay, what was really going on? And sometimes I've seen people that really were done wrong, when some people have paid a lot of money, their grandmother, their mother, and they have paid to a ministry, and then they fall on hard times and they get sent somewhere else. That's not a good thing. There's no way you can slice that up to be good.
I'm going to charge this on the churches. The church is the main money maker in the black community, right? They don't have to pay the taxes. I'm going to say this now. And My thing is the money that you're talking about, whatever you're talking about, you 100% right. Things have to be documented. I want to see documentation into a black bank. That's what I want to see, because you taking money in the black community, but who is your church banking with?
You know who they banking with? Somebody white.
Yeah, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, whomever.
And they taking your money
and the way you empower your people is to have financial stability. To have a black bank. And put your money in a black bank, that empowers that black bank. That's how banks make money. They get money and they loan the money out, and then they make interest off of the loan. This is how the banks work. This is why the banks are so important in the Jewish community.
Yeah.
That's why they have the 4 to 5 major banks in the world. They have power.
Right.
And they don't have as many people. There's only 6 million Jews here in America. It's 44 million of us, and they making us lose jobs every time we say something that pissed them off, because they have power.
Yeah.
We don't have any power in our community. We don't. Money in the capitalistic system is power.
Yeah.
You empower yourself by empowering your own banks.
Right.
And if individuals are not doing it, but at least I'm saying the church, ask your church who they bank with, put the money in the black banks, and then you're going to empower your people.
You're too deep, Kev. You're too heavy now. You're too deep. And I know what you're saying. That's practical what you're saying, because whenever we spend money at certain places, we like to know where our money is going. In other words, whatever I buy, I see what I get. But we don't ask those questions because we're cowards. Many of us are cowards because we've been told that. So many pretenders are cowards, because a contender is going to confront you in love. They will ask you a simple question like, yo, bro, Kev, we've been giving this money for the last few years since we've joined this ministry or whatever, the institution. What are we doing with that? And then you would tell them politely, this is what we're doing. Or you would say, like many people, that's not your business.
Yeah,
that's God's business.
That's not your business. But I'm going to say, okay, but it's somebody's business. You know, you getting your money from the community.
Yeah.
You know, the people that's going to your churches in your community. Yeah. Grandma's giving her bread, and they passing it around. But then you could say, well, the pastor's buying this, but you banking somewhere though. And this is what I'm saying. Whatever you're doing, if your pastor got a plane, I don't care.
Right.
That's what you and your congregation to deal with that. But I'm saying the church is the number one money maker in the black community. And if you invest in the black community instead of just doing the food banks and all this stuff, like just doing stuff like that, that's going to go down the toilet.
Right.
But I'm saying you can empower our community.
Yep, that's where it's at.
You can empower our community by investing in the black banks.
Yes, sir.
Individuals, you can empower our community by investing in the black banks. You can empower your kids' education by investing in the black schools.
Yeah. Yeah, and you got to know, and see the people that know what you just said, they know that they have made an impact. See, some people you have to stroke. You have to coerce. But some people know that if I do this, then this is going to empower us, see? And this is the message that we have to tell to those contenders. Continue to strive to do what you're doing, because no one has to teach you. You know that you want to shop at a black bank. You want to invest in a black bank. You want to shop at a black store. You want to look for black business women who are struggling because they need our support. They know these things, but when you get caught up in this pretending, you want people to think you live in this la-la land when you're really fooling your own self, because you're not doing anything. You think you are. But you're not. You're going to meetings to talk about the same old stuff. For 80 years, you're still talking about the same thing, but nobody is being empowered in your community. And when you bring that to the people that you're talking to, they're going to shoot it down because they don't want to do it. See, they don't want to. I tell you, go to an institution and you ask them, let's get in the community and let's do some things that we've been talking about all these years. They're not going to do it.
All right. I'm going to read another comment. My brother Anthony Gonzalez chimed in. Let me hit the C more, because you said a lot. He said, I seem to be a pretender because I've always had to navigate my actions to benefit my kids' route through the system they are in, college sports, because they now want to know the parents are accepting your child. Before accepting your child, they say they can go here or there, then I'll be altering their route. Just know I get it and I understand it. Our mission is our power. All right, let me say something to this. I love my brother Anthony, one of the wisest brothers I know, and I think what you're saying, when this is what I'm saying about pretenders and contenders. you're not pretending. I guess you're saying you're a pretender because you're changing your ways so that your kids could do. We all do that at our job.
Yeah.
I don't say what I want to say at my job. And sometimes I may want to punch somebody in the face at my job. I don't do it. And that's just being smart. But what I'm saying is when you're a pretender, that means you're pretending to be something in our community. That's what we're talking about. Pretending to be something in our community that you're not. When you sit up there and you're acting like you're pro-black, but you're not, you know, and you say, well, I want my kid to go to Michigan. That's fine.
Right.
You could go to Michigan, but what I'm saying, I tell people, it's okay to send your kids to a white school or whatever you think they're going to get the best, but with the mindset that them knowing that they're still black and that they could take whatever they got from over there and turn around and help our people with. You could go join the military.
Yeah.
But teach our people when you get out, everything that the military taught you, come back and start teaching some of us how to do some of those things that want to be protecting ourselves and doing things like this.
And see, I'm going to dive in this too, because I definitely want to concur with you. This brother is not a pretender, because he's doing what he's supposed to do as a parent, and that's provide for his children. The pretenders are the ones who say they're going to do things for their children and don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of, and have these kids out here don't know which way to go, don't know which way to turn, don't know any morals, don't know any ethics, don't know anything. So therefore, brother, we encourage you that you're not a pretender. You don't even seem to be a pretender based upon what we're reading. So when we talk about pretending, especially when it comes to our children, this is when we want people to think our children are all this and that, when we know we have not provided for them to be anything. So we are pretending that our children are that, but when they're really not.
Or people are misled.
Exactly.
Because I'm quite sure you're not sending your kids out there and making them think or think that they're not black or where they come from.
Right.
Or anything else. You know, that when you're doing that, then you're one of those people that's pretending like you're white.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't think a lot of us, and it's like, or you're pretending like there's nothing wrong in our community. You know, when you raise your kids and let them see not just as black on black crime and this is what's wrong. No, this is why we have black on black crime. This is what the system is doing from. This is what they're promoting in our communities.
Yeah.
You know, so, and when you go to this school, don't get it twisted. They're going to treat you. They're going to take from you what they need for your talent. You say your kids playing sports. They're going to use them for their talent, and they don't really give a damn about them.
Yes,
if your son break his leg or hurt his knee, then guess what? They don't all that love they show you now for hitting the last shot and all that stuff, and if they can't use you no more, you know, then they don't need you.
That's
and
it.
that's what you got to teach your kids, the reality of life.
And a lot of pretenders too. I know we're so called into overtime now because we've been an hour at this thing, but a lot of the pretenders are like those little bugs. I don't know what you call them. I think we used to call them doodle bugs, but you touch them and they ball up. And so you touch them, they ball up. When you hit this truth about pretenders and contenders, and these pretenders are looking at this broadcast maybe, and we're hitting home, and instead of being honest about what we need to do to help something small, we ball up and we stay in the curl. Then all of a sudden we open up again and we start to pretending again. Then when you hear broadcasts like this, we go back into a shell. You see, or when someone says, come on the broadcast or give us a call, then we ball up, then we open back up. We can't continue to live like that. So we're trying to encourage everyone that's watching this broadcast that, first of all, we thank you for watching it. We may start coming, I think we're going to start doing the first and the third Tuesdays, because this is a good time, I think, Kev. We got men, calls, and so I think we should at least try to see where we kind of put a filler out there and see what happens.
And the roly-polies, I'm going to say this, man. That's what we call them when we touch them and they roll up into a ball. when it comes time to walk, I don't really care about the talk, man. I don't want to hear when the talk. I just like us having a discussion.
Right.
I don't care about I'm gonna do this or this and that. Okay, we could build like that.
Right.
But I want to see your feet. I want to see your shoes be worn because I want to see you walking that walk. You know, and that's what I want to see. That's why I was saying I want to see more walking than talking.
I hear you.
Because it's time for our hands to get dirty. Dealing with each other, talking to each other, that's fine. But we got to build with each other. We got to have these discussions with each other. This is what I think. And Kev, I think you wrong. And this is what I think. And when you say that, I'm gonna say, okay, well, what you think then? Tell me, because it's not gonna be my ego is involved, because it's no time for egos and all this stuff like that when it comes to helping our community. Maybe you got a better idea, and I'm like, okay, then we could just talk like that. But if I say, well, man, I think you off track with this, and then you get all huffy and puffy, then I know I can't talk to you, because you should be able to say, man, Kev, I think you made a mistake, or I think this is what I believe, or even if you don't put it like that. I believe this, you believe that. What do you think? And we could talk. And this is,
Yeah,
everybody should be able to talk to build.
Yeah, we always say, show me the errors of my ways and I'll change. That's a lie. Show me the error of my ways and I'm going to be ready to fight or cuss you out or kick you in the you-know-what. So we got a lot of growing up to do, too, as well. Even the contenders, I just want to encourage the contenders. We talked a lot about pretenders and contenders, but I wanted to say in my final words to the contenders to keep doing what you're doing. I love all of you, even the pretenders. Just work through this. If it's in your heart, if it's not, keep pretending. But to the contenders, those are the ones I want to talk about, just to encourage them to say, I thank you for your dedication. I thank you for your commitment. I thank you for your hard work. You're one of the contenders. You don't have to do this broadcast. This information is invaluable. I've learned so much sitting across from you. Yeah, I run my fat mouth all the time, but at the same time, Kev, I've learned a lot just listening
and
to
vice
you.
versa.
And so the thing of it is this is reciprocal, and yet I'm learning that this information, we're giving it to people. So these are contentions that we're doing. These are contenders that we're being a part of with all the stuff that we're talking about. So I just say this is a broadcast that has to be.
This is just conversation because we don't rehearse now. We don't even. You just give a title. And sometimes it's a double entendre. We talk. It's like, then I don't know what you're going to say. You don't know what I'm going to say. You throw words out, and I respond, and vice versa.
Yeah,
so,
you could tell, Kev, he's influenced me because normally when we used to do our broadcasts, if you look back in the annals of history, I would give these long, drawn-out topics, and now he come down with just a few words. So now, like the pretenders and contenders, so he has influenced me from that perspective, and it's a good thing because you don't know which way we're going to go with it. So hopefully you'll tune in and say, okay, so that's what they're talking about. So again, Kev, I don't know if you have some final words, but again, I want to thank all of the contenders. I appreciate you. I can't say it enough. I am so enthused, and you motivate me as well, and you give me the desire because you do it. I know you do it. I can do it. Our ancestors did it, so we can do it. And we thank you for tuning into this broadcast, and I'm just excited. We got some men that's watching this, and we got a call, so let's just keep going in that direction.
Yeah, check us out 3 Tuesdays from the night or something like that.
First and third Tuesday.
First and third Tuesday. Yeah. And if y'all have any topics that y'all want to hit us with, inbox us or hit us on.
What's the email?
The email is jahkevshow@gmail.com.
Yeah.
And hit us on that, or you can hit me on my DM or go to Cry's Wound page and say, Jah, I think y'all should talk about this, or give us any kind of critique. We're not allergic to trying to get better. And I appreciate everyone that commented.
There you go. All right.
Peace.
We out. Thank you.